Hello everyone, Via here, and in this video we've got a very exciting release. We have the recently released Avataro Sentai Donbrothers DX Don Onitaijin. And we're starting off here. This is my normal perspective for videos, and you can see just how enormous this box is. Look at how giant, you can see my windows, just how huge this box actually is. If I pull out all the way, you can see I can't even fit it all in frame. It's insane how huge this is. But up here in the corner, you can see we have the Donbrothers symbol as well as the updated Bandai Namco symbol. We have this beautiful artwork of Don Onitaijin in combined mode sitting down. We can see the logo there with his name imprinted on it. And you can see the Bandai logo there on the, oh my god. On the side, you can see it proudly proclaims that the figure is 36 centimeters tall. And as we just scroll up, you can see a shot of Don Onitaijin himself. On the other side, you can see the combined mode in its full glory there, as well as the 5 individual mecha that make up Don Onitaijin. On the top of the box, it's upside down, but you've got the Rangers right there. Bottom of the box is again upside down, but you got Don Onitaijin. On the back, push that all the way back so we can see it. You can see some more product shots of the Donbrothers, their Robotaro forms, and the combined mode on this side, again proudly proclaiming that it is 36 centimeters tall. You can see a couple of the combining gimmicks here, and that it is posable, which is a new thing for this year. This is a very exciting release for a lot of people, myself included. I know I'm pretty late to actually getting mine and reviewing it, but we're here now, so let's get it out of there and we'll take a look at it. So cracking them out of the box and getting them assembled into their individual Robotaro forms, we have all 5 Donbrothers, and you can see, I don't know if you can tell based on the perspective of my table, but they are very large. They're very big. Momotaro by himself is the size of a standard Sentai mecha. We'll bring one in a bit for comparison, but I just wanted to get a small team shot in here first before we kind of zoom in and look at them each individually a little bit closer. So I moved them around a little bit, and I got in here DX Don Onitaijin, our previous full-sized mecha release from Donbrothers, just so you can see how incredibly large these are. DX Sentai mecha are fairly similar in size for the most part. Don Onitaijin stands at approximately 25 centimeters. And you can see he is pretty head-to-head with Don Momotaro just by himself. And Oni sister in the back there is no slouch either, coming up to around his shoulder. And then these 3, you know, they sit on the ground a bit more, but you can see they're very large compared to a standard Zord or mecha from a normal Sentai mecha. So we're going to get Don Onitaijin out of here, and we're going to take a look at them individually, and we'll start with, why don't we start with Inu Brother? I do want to apologize for the large amount of cuts in this review so far, but with how large these figures are, it's a bit difficult to actually manipulate them behind the camera. But we're going to start here with our Black Ranger for this season, Inu Brother. You can see his Robotaro form is that of a dog. And you can see he is very large. He forms the leg, so he has to be very big and have a lot of mass to him. We're going to get in close here on the head. You can see I'm not a huge fan of the head design for this sword in particular, but it is show accurate, so we can give it props for that. The muzzle is painted in silver, and the sunglasses are molded in a grayish silver plastic with black painted in for the sunglasses. You got a little bit of gold paint here at the front for that detail. On the side here, unpainted, you have a Donbrothers symbol, as well as some blue here for some striping. That same blue appears on the top near the butt of the dog. You can see his legs are molded in a gray plastic, and you can see his very chunky tail here made from the foot of the combined mode. You can see I have it angled slightly down, but if you want, you can bring that up. Speaking of articulation, the individual Zords don't have a whole lot. The legs on Inu Brother can move 1 click forward and 1 click back for these front legs, and the rear legs can kick forward 2 clicks, and they can click back 1 click. There's also this joint at the mid-torso, but that's more for combined mode. The tail is where you can have a little bit more fun because it is the foot. You do have some side-to-side articulation there, and at the base here, you do have a hinge joint to move down that far, and it moves up that far. And then here you have another joint for the foot piece that has a couple of locking points. It can lock up a little bit like that, straight out like that, down 1 click like that, and down all the way like that. And that's about it for Inu Brother. So next up we have Oni's sister, who forms our other leg, and if I'm being honest, she's probably the weakest of the figures in my opinion, which is a shame because her suit design in the show for her Robotaro form is actually probably my favorite suit design in the entire show. I just think it looks really cool. I really like Haruka as a character, so it kind of stinks that her figure is so stunted, but it is what it is. This is like not the most important thing it has to do, so whatever. It's getting close here on that head. You can see very nice head sculpt there. You know, looks like the Oni with the horns and the same sunglasses that they all have. Her shoulder pads are done in that like almost a sparkly like grayish brown plastic. Some paint to match that plastic there on the chest and thighs to try to break up that yellow, but it is a lot of unpainted plastic. Her lower legs are solid gray plastic, and you can see her legs are just a solid piece. No articulation there, and when you look at her back, you can kind of see exactly what she turns into. In terms of articulation for her, there's really none. Her head can rotate left and right. It does kind of come undone a little bit. Excuse me, a little bit though when you do that. Her arms do not move. You can push them in, but that's not really a joint. And her legs, the only joint she has is for transformation, which is there. Yeah, that's not really helpful for poses. So she is basically just a brick, which is fine. Like I said, this set services the combined mode much more than the individuals, so they end up being a little stunted, but I think they work for what they are. So, on to the next one. Up next, we have Saru Brother, our Blue Ranger, here in his Robotaro form, forming the arms of the combined mode. Again, a very oddly proportioned gorilla, but, you know, a gorilla nonetheless. You can see, let's get in close there on the head. Nice looking head sculpt. He's got the same sunglasses that they all do, with some nice sculpted fur detail in that blue plastic. Same sculpted fur on the shoulders and arms here, as well as the hands. You can see on his stomach, he does have the abs of the combined mode right there. And then you can see his kind of short, stumpy legs. They're not much for looking or for posing, but they're not really the focal point. You can see his big arms are the main focal point. This guy does have a bit of articulation. His head is on a ball joint, which is nice. It can rotate here. It can look down and up a bit like that. And it can also kind of look side to side just a tiny bit there. Not a super free ball joint, but nice to have, especially for those group shots you saw in the opening earlier. I had him over here kind of looking at the camera, and I think it can look quite good. Now, his shoulders are an interesting topic for the articulation. So this shoulder can rotate all the way around. It can move out to the side. It can rotate at the bicep, bend at the elbow, the wrists are on ball joints, and the hands can open. Now, his other arm is a bit of a different story because of the way this combines. You can see this large hinge joint that connects the head to the body. So the shoulder actually is completely immobile. The shoulder does not move. However, the rest of the arm does have the same articulation with a rotating bicep, bend at the elbow, ball jointed wrists, and opening hands. His legs as well are just on a single joint. They can move forward that far and back that far. So he is probably the most mobile that we've looked at so far. And I actually think he has a good amount of articulation. Besides his shoulder, he's got a decent amount for whatever monkey poses you would want to put him in. So, on to the next one. Next up is Kiji Brother, my personal favorite character on the show so far. You can see here he is in his Robotaro form, which is a large pheasant. Large pink pheasant. Looking very nice with a lot of translucent plastic here on the wings and on the body. And this actually looks really good. You can see here it's layered. So you have like the gray plastic that has sculpting on it with then that layer of pink plastic over it just to give it a bit of depth. And it looks really good on the body there. The wings have that same detail underneath that pink plastic, which looks very good. Here at the head, you can see nice pink there with the gold beak and the same sunglass aesthetic that they all have. You can see some pink plastic there at the tips of the wings, and then the tail has some pink tampografts on it just to break up that gray a little bit. Now, in terms of articulation for this guy, couple of problems. Number one, he doesn't have any feet. You can see he is completely flat at the bottom, which means he kind of looks a bit weird when you just have him sitting on the ground, like I have been for this whole review. If you get some kind of figure stand that has a clamp, you can very easily just kind of clamp it around his body. Here, it's nice and thin, and you can get him up into the air for a bit of a better display for if you want to have them individually. And for the sake of that display, his head can actually look down like that. And that's it there, other than this weird transformation joint, but I don't think that really works for posability unless you have it at a very specific angle. The wings here, they do move down, but they kind of only have 2 points. So like they lock in flat here, and they also lock in down there. They're really only meant to stay at these 2 points. You can see I tried to put it in between, and it just kind of, it might stay depending on how tight yours is, but for the most part, it really does prefer to just stay in those 2 positions there. And that's it for posability. The tail doesn't move at all. It's just solid. So Kiji Brother is a little bit limited in the articulation department, but I think get him on a figure stand, and he is one of the nicest looking of the set in the individual modes. And now on to our leader. So here we have our leader of the Don Brothers, our Red Ranger, Don Momotaro, or Don Robotaro, here in his Robotaro form. Now, I want to say right off the bat, the proportions on this guy are very strange. He's very large in the upper body. His upper body is extremely large, with then you can see very small feet and calves. But I've actually gotten used to looking at it, and I don't think it's that bad. I think it looks worse in pictures than it does in person, if I'm being real. But we'll get in close here on the head sculpt, and we'll talk about the issues I have with this. Very nice head sculpt. You can see he's got that kind of, I think that's like a ponytail sort of thing there, with the large sunglass aesthetic here with the peach on the crest. Very, very nice. Some silver paint there on the face. You can see his chest has some nice gold paint on here with the Don Brothers symbols and some more clear pink plastic there. Large shoulder pads and arms here with some more gold paint apps. You can see here on the waist you got some white and the gray legs with the tiny red feet. Overall, I think it's a very nice looking figure. And there's the back as well. You can see the combined mode helmet is stored back there. Very nice looking figure in my opinion. I'm going to bring him in one more time so we can see the comparison here between Don Robotaro and Don Zenkaio, and you can see they are very similar in height. Don Zenkaio has a little bit of height over Don Robotaro, but they are pretty similar. So it's very interesting that our main component of this mecha is the same size as a standard size DX mecha. So yeah, that combined mode's going to be big. But before we get into the combined mode, we will quickly touch on the articulation here. A little bit disappointing in some points, but pretty good in others. So his head, raise that up just a tad. His head can rotate all the way around, and it can look up and down right there. You want to be a little bit careful because this piece does not actually lock in. That is for the face of the combined mode. That doesn't lock in, so sometimes when you're moving the head around, it will move out of place. You can just push it back down. Arms have no articulation, which is a little bit disappointing. I was expecting to at least have a swivel here at the shoulder, but nope. No articulation here at all. And even the two joints here in the arm, so that they can fold up like that, only have those locking points. So they can't actually really be in any other positions besides those two positions. A little bit disappointing there on the arms, but the legs make up for it a little bit. He does have a ratcheted waist swivel there. His hips can kick forward like that, and they can kick back like that. He does have a thigh swivel that swivels one click out to the side like that, and his knees do bend a little less than 90 degrees. So, one of the more posable of the set, but definitely posability, not really the strong suit for this team here, at least in their individual modes. Combined mode is a bit of a different story. So we'll get into that combination right now. We're going to start off with combining the legs, and the legs are going to be Oni sister and Inu brother. So for Inu brother, what you want to do is just straighten out the tail, because that's going to form the foot. The entire head and front of the body, you just want to ratchet down, and it will lock into place like that. And then you take these back legs and fold them up. Then you take the foot here and bend it down, stand them up, and there you have a leg. Very, very simple. Oni sister, what you want to do here, take her arms, push them in at the hands, and then you can come up here and you can see her shoulders just push into place. And then you want to make sure that this section here, if you don't push it in all the way, you can see this section kind of untabs. They'll get a little out of line. You just want to make sure that these are nice and squeezed into place. Take the legs here, fold them all the way up, and take the heel of the foot and flip it back. Lastly, you just want to take the head and push it back. You want to rotate the head around and just push it down like that. It will nice snap into place. And there you have your two legs all done. Next up is Don Robotaro. So what you want to do for him is come to the back here. This is the helmet for the combined mode. You just want to remove this piece and put that off to the side. Then you want to take his toes here and you want to flip them down like that. Take his arms and they will collapse up into place. And then they're on hinges back here, so you can just swing these back onto the back like that. And then you can grab Oni sister. She goes on this side, and they just snap on the two legs, just snap in to these little posts here on the side of Don Momotaro's legs. So Inu brother snaps in, and you can see he is already extremely tall. Oh boy. So we're going to put him back here. Next, we will do Saru brother. So what you want to do for him, take this piece here and pop this out. This piece we will deal with later. You know, take his head and it will double hinge up and over to the side, and it will just collapse down onto the shoulder, and then you just kind of straighten it out like that. Take the arms and rotate them and just bring the elbows one click in like that, and then you can split his body in half. And then what you want to do here is you come to the side, and you can see there's 3 posts here on the side where the shoulders are, and there's 4 sets of clips, but you want to use the outer 3 here, and you just want to snap the shoulder into place like that. Holds on nice and secure. Just Do the same thing on this side and just snap that into place. And lastly, we're going to do Kiji Brothers. So what you want to do is remove his tail. It just pops out here. You want to take him and you want to split him in half. Then what you want to do is take the sides of the body and fold them together. Snap them into place. Now you have that side done. Take this side and you fold them in like that. Snap them into place. Take the head and flip it out. Now what you want to do here for this piece is you want to come up here and you can see there are clips on the backs of these legs. You want to take these sets of clips on the backs of the wing pieces and just clip them in right here. Once you get that clipped in, you can just ratchet this up over the shoulder like that. Do the same thing on this side. Just get those clips lined up and pushed into place. And then you can ratchet this over the shoulder. Then you take the wings and fold them down along the arms, and you can take Kiji Brothers' head and it will double hinge down flat. Like that. Now, you want to take the ab section. This is a really neat little gimmick. So focus in on his chest here. What we're going to do, take his chest and extend it up, which reveals a port right there. You're going to take the clip on the back of this and plug it in right there. So that snaps in to his chest. And then when you push the chest back down, the Donbrothers symbol is revealed. That's a really neat little gimmick. I like that a lot. And now you come to the head here. Get the nice dramatic head reveal by taking the helmet piece and just slotting it on top of Don Roboltaro's head, and when you push it down, the visor comes up and you can see Don Onitaijin's nice head sculpt. Last thing you can do that we'll do for now is you can take the tail of Kiji Brother, split it in half, and come up here to the top, and you can see there are ports on the bottoms of the feet here that these will plug into. So plug these in, and there you have him. I'm going to try my best to get him all in frame. Oh my goodness, he's very large. There you have Don Onitaijin, it fully combined. This is a very, very impressive combination. It's extremely large, like the box says. When the box says 36 centimeters, they mean from the feet to the top of the head here. When you have on the extra flag pieces there, that brings him up all the way to 50 centimeters tall, which is insanely big. He's very, very large, very, very cool looking. I love the aesthetic of this mecha. It just looks really, really nice. And before we get into him in detail, I figured we should get this out of the way. I brought in Don Zenkaio one more time so you can see how he scales with Don Onitaijin fully combined, as well as the Power Rangers Dino Fury Red Ranger Zord thing. It's the American version of the Ryu Soldier, Keishi Ryu-O. Just for anybody who has that and wants a comparison with the Power Rangers version, it's very large. It's extremely big. It is the biggest Sentai mech that I own. I will bring in as well the final combination from Zenkaiger so you can see what that looks like as well compared to a final combination. So give me one moment. So I apologize if this footage here for this part of the video is a little bit shaky, but I could only really go handheld for this to show this comparison of these two behemoths. So you can see on the left here we have Zenryoku Zenkaio, the final combination from last year's series Zenkaiger. And here on the right we have Don Onitaijin, and you can see while Don Zenkaio is much wider, you can see this guy is just as tall. I think at the head they are the same height. And with those flags, he obviously gets a little bit more on top of him. And it is very insane to think about that last year's final combination is as big as this year's base combination. And Bandai's already confirmed that we're going to have more combinations for this guy in the future. So I'm curious to see how this progresses, how large this figure is going to be when we get other mecha combined with him. It's going to be very interesting, and I'll be sure to have videos out on that when those figures come out. So now that we have our comparisons out of the way, we're going to get in a bit close here on Onitaijin so we can see some of those new details. Most of the details we've seen before from the individual figures, but we can take a look at the face and the head in a little bit more detail. Very, very cool looking samurai aesthetic. Nice grim face. Looks like he's like frowning at us. It's very cool looking. That new Donbrothers symbol in pink is revealed there, which looks really, really cool. And you can see he's got the abs there in the stomach. And I like that. I like this little detail I find interesting is that Oni sister and Inu brother, we saw in the individual mini reviews that they are very different looking Zords, yet they both form very clean leg modes, and I think that's very, very cool. And you can see, turning around to like the side, no real kibble or anything on this guy at all. Besides Don Momotaro's folded up arms, it's a very clean looking combination, which I really, really dig. So we're going to do articulation first, and then we can show off some of the features that this guy has. So head is going to be the same articulation as Don Momotaro, so his head can rotate all the way around. It can look up a little bit and down a little bit. These shoulder pads here, the wings can flip out for the flight mode, and then they can rotate back on their hinges to accommodate for the shoulders. Both the shoulders can rotate most of the way around. They can get up to around there before they start banging on stuff and can't actually move out the rest of the way. They can move out that far. Bicep rotation here. A nice deep bend at the elbow. Ball joints at the wrists, and the hands can open and close to accommodate for the swords. The waist can rotate on a nice ratchet. The hips can kick forward one click and back one click as well. They can also rotate out to the side like that, and they can bend a little bit less than 90 degrees. The ankles have we'll show it on this foot. The ankles have a bit of forward tilting, and they can also tilt at the ankle. So, not the most posable figure in the entire world, but for a Sentai mecha, it's very, very posable. We've never had a Sentai mech with this level of articulation before, so it's a very interesting development for 2022. And I really hope that the other mecha in this series and mecha in future series take from this and have that high level of articulation. There are some points that are a bit limited, probably for the sake of future combinations, such as I know a big complaining point for people has been the lack of outward motion on the hips. My hypothesis for that is we're going to be stacking a lot of stuff on top, and they don't want him collapsing at the hips in that way. That would be a really big point where I can see figures collapsing. So I can understand not putting in that joint for the sake of stability later down the line. Now, these flags that have been up here that you can barely see because they're out of frame, obviously they are formed from the two halves of Kiji Brothers' tail, but they can be held in the hands just by opening them up. And you can see there are two tabs in the palm and two slots in the handles of the swords. So you just tab those in and close them up, and he has a really nice tight grip on those. He's not going to be dropping those anytime soon. which is a good thing. Makes me wonder if other weapons for other DX Mecha are going to use this system from now on. I think that'd be really cool. And you can see without those swords, it gives him a bit of a flatter profile here. I prefer to leave them on the shoulders. I think it gives it a cooler profile on the shelf, makes it a bit more imposing looking. But if you want to display him with weaponry, obviously these swords are going to be your bet. And I've gotten him into some pretty decent looking poses with these swords because of that fun articulation increase. So this set, even in combined mode, is very playable in a way that a lot of Sentai Mecha in the past haven't been able to be because of their limited articulation. So I'm very pleased with this set and how it has handled that so far. And I'm very excited to see how they expand on this idea in the future of bigger posable Sentai Mecha. It'll be very interesting to see what next year brings and what the rest of this year brings, to be fair as well. And that wraps up today's review of DX Don Onitaijin. I love this set. The reason I've been so late on this video, I've had this set for at least 2 weeks now. And I haven't made the video yet until just now because I've been playing with it. It's a very fun set to play with. The combination is extremely fun. It has a lot of little gimmicks and cool transformation elements that result in a very clean combined mode that actually has articulation. And that articulation lets you do a decent amount with it. And it's fun to just play with as a giant action figure. It's just really cool. When I heard people saying that this was the best Sentai Mecha ever made, I didn't believe them at first. I wasn't sure that this could surpass some of my favorites like Q-Reno or Galaxy Mega or Gingayo. I wasn't sure these were going to be able to sweep past those, but I can say with confidence that this is my favorite Sentai Mecha ever made. It's a little bit expensive. It's about 9,300 yen. On Amazon Japan, which is where I got mine. I'll leave the link to buy one in the description, and I recommend you do buy one because, like I said, very fun set, very playable set. It looks great on display. It looks great in any pose you put it in. And especially if the other mecha in this series are up to this same standard, we are going to have a very good year for Sentai Mecha with Donbrothers. I'm very excited to see where things go from here, and I'm looking forward to Dondoragoku's mech coming probably pretty soon, I would imagine, with an announcement or something. So, but until then, that's been it for this video. I will drop links not only to purchase this set, but also to my social media down in the description down below. While you're down there, if you could, please leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. I'd really appreciate it. Oops, sorry about that. And maybe check out some of my other videos. I have a playlist linked in the outro of all of my toy reviews thus far. I'd appreciate you checking that out as well. But until next time, I've been Anovia. I'll see you guys in the next review. Bye-bye.